Okay, Elia, you may start.
Okay, thank you Nabila. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The horrible lecturer, Ma'am Tita, and all of my beloved audience. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the presentation today is about the use of well-designed application to improve student speaking skill. Before we start the presentation, let me introduce our member. Next slide, please, Nabila. Okay, let me introduce our member. For the first member is Aisyah Humairah, and next Ervina Azira Maharani. Next, there is Nabila Rizky Aryani and Ramadhani as a presenter. And the last is I am Elia Marcelita as a moderator. Well, let's open our presentation by saying Basmalah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay, thank you. For the next slide, Nabila, please. Okay, before we start our presentation, let me tell you the table of contents of the topics today. First, introduction. Second, literature review. Third, method of study. Fourth, sample. 5, result of the study, and 6, interpretation. Next slide, please. Okay, I will explain for the first subtopic, that is introduction. And in this presentation, our group used thesis from Nadya, Khairunnisa, Adila from MUHAMMADIYAH University of Jakarta, and the title of the thesis is The Use of Well-Designed Application to Improve Students' Speaking Skills. According to Adila research on 2018, the aim of this research was investigate whether well-designed application effective or not to improve students' speaking skill. And this research conducted on 10 grades of student Nurul Hikmah Senior High School with 43 students as a sample. And the method that used in this research is quantitative method with quasi-experience and proposing sampling by pre-test and post-test score to collecting. Okay, for the next subtopic, we'll explain by Nabila. For Nabila, time is yours.
All right, thank you very much for the moderator. Now we're moving on to the next chapter, which is the literature review itself inside of the thesis explanation. So first of all, I would be explaining the definition of speaking skills, whereas we understand that speaking skills is a process of informing or telling someone on the information that we would actually talk about and will be brought up for the speaking skills itself, and it is relatable on how we are going to apply this kind of method in terms of the side of knowing what we would be learning in speaking or the speaking skills itself. So speaking is the most important skill that's required for communication, because speaking is a speech production that becomes a part of our daily activities. Speaking does not only produce words but also need complex thought, especially for communication. In speaking, people expresses their thoughts through word and talk about perception or point of view, feelings and intention they want other people to grasp and understand. In communication, speaking skill also is act of generating words that can be understood by listeners. So a good speaker who is clear and informative in case of delivering their information itself. So next off is the speaking aspect. Pronunciation, the speaking aspect that we all understand, there is categorized into four aspects. The one, first of all, is pronunciation, second is vocabulary, and third is fluency, and the fourth is accuracy. So number one, pronunciation. Pronunciation is the sound in familiar way that makes someone being able to understand what the speakers mean. For students, pronunciation is the way to produce clearly language on what they will be uttering. Here, for the pronunciation, students are not required to have a sound like a native speaker. However, the most important thing is that the listeners are able to understand what the speakers are saying or speaking. According to Chen Li, 2014, great pronunciation competence in English is able to make others understand easily. It is not necessary to speak English like native, but well enough to be understood. B is vocabulary. Vocabulary is one of the very important aspects that supports speaking performance to communicate. To be able to speak fluently and accurately, speakers should master enough vocabulary or enrich their vocabulary and have the capability to use accurately. So in brief, vocabulary is important. Without them, students are having some difficulties to express their ideas and communicate to each other. So it is required to have a nice vocabulary in enriching them. The third one is fluency, and fluency can be defined as the ability to speak fluently or to speak in a natural way. And here students use language spontaneously and confidently without under pauses, hesitation, or under pressure. That means the student does not have to spend a lot of time to express their message in speaking activities. So fluency also refers to how well a learner communicates meaning rather than how many mistakes they make in grammar, pronunciation, and vocabulary. D is accuracy, and accuracy is an ability to produce sentence or utterance with correct grammar. Now, the next explanation, the next one is the function of speaking. So the function of speaking itself, according to Brown, Yulee, in John Die, 2014, there are three functions in speaking. First off, there is the function of speaking in terms of as an interaction. Second is as the transaction, and the third is the performance. Whereas to connect all of them, interaction is between two individuals that actually needs to have a two ways of communication. Third of all is the transaction, in a way of both of them having a object to deliver an information to send and to receive. And the third is talk as a performance, in a way of our supportive gesture, expression, and our body language that supports our speaking skills. So the type of speaking here is divided into four categories. The first one is imitate, the second one is intensive, third is responsive, transaction, interpersonal, and also in extensive. So imitate here truly means that students repeat what the speaker will say, and learners practice the intonation and also the vowels that are uttered or pronounced by the speakers. The second one is the intensive, whereas the intensive only means as phonological and grammatical aspects of language. And the third one is responsive, in a way to have a two ways of communication that also tends to replies back to what information that are delivered. The fourth one is transaction, to have an exchanging specific information. The fifth one is interpersonal, where it is more maintaining the social relationship for transmission of facts and information. And last but not least was extensive, which is more in a use of intermediate or advanced level in speaking, which is also categorized as formal speaking language that are used on informal presentation and events. Back to the moderator.
Okay, thank you, Nabila, for the explanation. For the next subtopic about speaking activities will explain by Ramadhani. For Ramadhani, time is yours. Ramadhani. Okay, I think Ramadhani has a problem, so let's move to Aisyah to explain speaking activities. For Aisyah, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, moderator. I will continue the explanation. Speaking activities. Speaking first is discussion. According to Witherspoon's Gary and Courtney, teacher use discussion in the classroom to help students build discussion skills, such as learning to listen to others, evaluating argument, and formulating and communicating their own views. There are many types of discussion like buzz group, instant comment, formal database, unplanned discussion, and reacting a consequence. And the second is role play. Refer to Kuznets 2015. In roleplay, learners are usually given information about the role, example, a person or a job title, and also teacher can give information to the learners such as who they are and what they think or feel. For example, the teacher can tell the student that you are EXO members, you won't go to your concert and say thank to your friend. And the third is storytelling. In storytelling, the student must understand the story and tell the story with their own language. According to Zaro and Sabari in ANIC 2013, storytelling is activities which require a certain level of information between storyteller and audience and between individual and listener. So in storytelling is more like give information about the story by using sentence and action which aim the listener can understand and image what the speaker told. And the fourth is questionnaires. This is an interactive activity. So this activity, the questioner and respondent say something to each other that related with the information they learned and the question prepared before. Next slide, please. Teaching speaking. Teaching speaking is a process to transfer knowledge from lecturer to the learner about how to speak and get information correctly. One goal of teacher speaking skill is to communicate effectively. A student should be able to make themselves understood and using their conquered proficiency to fail falsehood. In the classroom, speaking skill enable individual children to ask questions, to offer information, and to say if they do or do not understand. The classroom can be the child's most important environment for learning how to express their own idea and to hear the idea of others. Next slide, please. Okay, hypothesis of study. Age 0. A well-decided application doesn't improve students' speaking skill. And age 1, well-decided application of students' speaking skill. In brief, by using this application, hope students' speaking skill is improved. Next slide, please. Next slide, please, Bill. Method of study. The method that used by the writer in this study is quantitative experiment with quasi-experiment as follows. First is pre-test, second is treatment, and third is post-test. Adila, as the writer of this research, used quantitative experiment with quasi-experiment as a method of the study. Quantitative research or quantitative experiment is the process of collecting and analyzing numerical data. So in this research, it can use to find pattern and evidence, make prediction, test causal relationship, and generalize result to wider population. In quasi-experiment research, the writer used pre-test, treatment, and post-test design. First is pre-test, in order to know students' ability in speaking. Here, the pre-test give before treatment. The writer will give pre-test to know the student's speaking ability before treatment. And the second is treatment. After giving the treatment, the writer using well-decided application for teaching in the classroom. The writer teach by use well-decided application. And the third is post-test. Post-test, it was given to the student after treatment to know the student achievement and progress. I think that's all. Back to the moderator.
Okay, thank you, Aisyah, for the explanation. And for the next subtopic or chapter will explain by Ervina. For Ervina, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, moderator. Next is sample instruments. So the sample in this thesis uses a purposive sample. Purposive sample itself is a random sampling methodology in which the targeted sample group has certain attributes. This method can be used in many populations but is more effective with smaller sample size and more homogeneous population. Therefore, because in the research, the writer wants to get representative data that matches with the criteria, so that in the chosen sample, the writer uses purposive sampling. So the writer gets class 10 social science as the sample in the research. The class consists of 43 students, which have 33 female students and 10 male students. Next slide. Okay. The next is result of the study. It can be seen from the student speaking score between before used will decide application and after used will decide application in learning activity. In score pre-task or before used will decide application in learning activity, the results showed that the mean of the student was 56.74, and after use will decide application in learning activity, result from the mean of the student in score post-test was 69.74. It means the score of post-test was higher than the score in pre-test. So it can be concluded that there was a different score to more better when using will decide application in the class. Okay, next slide. Okay, the last one is interpretation. As the writer mentioned on chapter 2, the writer proposed the hypothesis as follows. One is, will decide application doesn't improve students' speaking skill? And second, will decide application improve students' speaking skill? So in order to prove the hypothesis, the writer has the assumption as below. Based on the result of task calculation above 3.65 was obtained in the degree of freedom 23.63 with the degree of significance 5%. It gains score 2018. The result of calculation revealed T calculation. Since T call be higher than TT score obtained from the result of the calculation, the alternative hypothesis was accepted while the null hypothesis was rejected. If the result of calculation higher than table the alternate. Hypothesis is accepted and null hypothesis is rejected. Thus, the data analysis revealed that there is an improvement on the using of will decide application in teaching speaking skill for 10th graders. Can see from post-test scores of students. Speaking performance after being treated with will decide application were higher than their scores before the treatment. It can be seen from the students' post-test score, which were higher than their pre-test score, the post-test improvement score. The significance score of students' speaking test result was higher than showed that using will decide application in 10th grade student of senior high school, Nurul Hikmah, can improve their speaking skills. I think that's all. Back to moderator.
All right, thank you very much. Since Elia has trouble in her connection as well as she is not feeling well for all of the sudden, so I would like to replace the moderator. Now we will be moving to the question and answer session. So for those who would like to ask a question, please raise your hand and I will pick the audience. So for the audiences, if you would like to ask a question, please raise your hand. If not, I would pick the audience. Okay, now we have several audience who would like to ask a question. Let's start off with Tasha Nabila.
Alright, thank you, moderator. So my name is Tasha Nabila Kita from Group 1, and my question is, why is it important for us to develop speaking skills? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for Tasha Nabila. And next off is Elizabeth. Please mention your name and your student number, your last student number.
Okay, I am Elizabeth. My last 3-digit student number is 04. I am from Group 1. I would like to ask, what is the main factor that can influence learners in speaking? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for Elizabeth. And let's just continue with Ruth Arita. To Ruth, you may.
Okay, thank you, moderator. So my name is Ruth Arita. I'm from Group 3. My last digit number is 062, and my question is, can the result of the study using the well-designed application improve students' speaking skill? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for Ruth Arita. Please give us a few minutes to discuss the answers. Okay, now we would like to answer the questions from the three of the audience. So the question from Tasha will be answered by Aisha.
Okay, thank you, moderator. I will answer Tasha question. And the question is, why is it important for us to develop speaking skill? Important for us to develop speaking skill because it allows us to form connection, influence decision, and motivate change. Without communication skill, the ability to progress in the working world and in life itself will be nearly impossible. Public speaking is one of the most important and most needed form of communication. Is it clear, Tasha?
Yes, it's clear. Thank you, Aisha.
Yeah.
All right, now the next question, which is from Elizabeth, will be answered by Ervina. To Ervina, yes.
Okay. I'm sorry if my voice is noisy here. Okay, the question from Elizabeth: what is the main factor that can influence learners speaking? So the results show that there are found 6 factors affecting students' speaking skill. There are affective factors, performance condition, listening ability, study habit at home, topical knowledge, and feedback during speaking activities. So I think that's answer. Is it clear, Elizabeth?
Yeah, it's clear. Thank you, Ervina.
Okay, thank you. Back to moderator.
Okay, thank you very much for Ervina. So the third question from Ruth Arita will be answered by myself. So from Ruth Arita, if I'm not mistaken, her question was, can the results of the study using the Wheel Decide application improve students' speaking skills? Well, as we all know that we have already shown in our PowerPoint where we have the results of the application of Wheel Decide, and yes, of course, the results show that the use of the Wheel Decide application at Nurul Hikmah High School can improve students' speaking skills from this thesis, and it can be seen from the students' speaking score between and also before using the Wheel Decide application and after using it in the terms of their learning activities. So in the pre-score test, you can see the before and after show that the students has had their score range that actually tends to be increased before they use that wheel decided application and after they use them. So it was proven that this presentation right here shows that yes, it does actually improve their speaking skills. Does that answer your question, Ruth Arita?
Yes, Nabila. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Maybe we would like to open another question and answer session, or one more question, or another for those
one
who...
more questions. Yeah, only one more question. If
Okay.
there is no questions, okay, we can close.
Okay, to Putri Salsabila, you may.
Thank you, moderator. My name is Putri Salsabila, with my last digit number is 042. And my question is Wheel Decide application true? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for Putri Salsabila. So the question was, is Wheel Decide application true? We would like to discuss it for a few seconds. So please wait for a while. Okay, so to Putri Salsabila question will be answered by Elia Marcelita. To Elia, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, moderator. I will answer Putri Salsabila question. The question is well-designed application true? Honestly, I don't understand or relate to the question, but I will try to answer. This well-designed application is a random picker generator, and it is a decision well tools focusing on the answer. It is the special spinner derived from picker well, also known as decision picker well. By just clicking the spin button, you will get the answer at the end of the spin. For Putri, is it clear? Or maybe you have other opinion?
I think it's clear enough. Thank you, Elia.
Okay, thank you, Putri.
Okay, now we would be closing the question and answer session and also draw a line of a conclusion towards our presentation. The conclusion itself is based on the results of the research about the use of wheel-decide application to improve students' speaking skills. The writer concludes that wheel determines application that allows to improve the speaking skills of the students, and it is already proven from the thesis and as well as the research that they already gain up to all the facts and information provided. So I think that's all for our presentation. I would like to apologize if there are any mistakes during our presentation, and I would like to close this by saying wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good. I just would like to clarify